Welcome back to the survival series. This is episode 11 and I think it's about time I did something with this layer of our base. Now the first layer, as you all know, is a dedicated trade hall and supplies us with all of our villager needs. Then the plan for the base extended to digging the hole further down into the world to make way for other layers I'd be creating. Other layers such as this layer we carved out a few episodes ago and I was quite clear was going to be our nether layer. Not only for the portal but also for nether storage, and currently this is our nether storage, just a handful of chests placed with a handful of blocks, not organised whatsoever in any regard. Now I don't want to only be placing a ton of chests in here. I mean, of course that is the idea, I am going to be doing that, but I want to actually put a bit of thought into the design, and I've got a few ideas of how I want the space to look. However, to carry that out, I don't have the materials required. I mean, don't get me wrong, we have a lot of netherrack and a handful of basalt, blackstone and other blocks, but it's nowhere near enough for what I want to do. And I already know the idea I've got in mind, while I think it's going to look really cool once it's done, it's going to take a lot of work. And I'm going to very briefly talk you through that right now. I've separated the layer into 4 quadrants, separated by basalt that runs from the outer corner of the inner square to the inner corner of the outer square, and I've done it for all 4 of the corners, making 4 distinct areas. Now I've done this because I want each of the quadrants to be visually different than the next, and I'm thinking going with the 4 biomes of the nether. I know there are 5 biomes, but I'm not really going to count the nether waste biome within this build because I think it's a boring biome visually to look at. So I'm going to be going with the crimson forest, the warped forest, the soul sand valley and the basalt delta biome, and each one of these quadrants is going to be dedicated to that biome. Before I go into the nether, I'm going to place chests in each of the 4 quadrants, not for the main storage, just temporary chests that are going to house the materials for building that quadrant of this layer. So for instance, if I take basalt and blackstone over from these chests over to these chests over here, this is going to be the basalt delta biome area. Then on the other end, I might take nether warp blocks and crimson stem and place them into these chests by the nether portal, and this will become the crimson forest biome quadrant. So discounting the netherrack and the quartz, I'm going to go through all these chests and organise them respectively into their new quadrants. Okay, doing that has just made me realise how much netherrack we have and how little everything else we have. So now I'm going to be putting in some serious sessions in the nether to gather more resources, because we have a lot to get. So I'm starting over at the warped forest biome, just grabbing a load of nylium. Is that what it's called? I can never remember. A warped warp block, sorry. Then I'll probably be down here grabbing nylium. This is the nylium, isn't it? Warped nylium. Okay, there we go. And some of this stuff, which are what? Vines and roots and... Who just shot me? Oh, it's these things. And warped stems and shroom light and anything else I can get my hands on. That's going to be helpful for the build. I'm also making it a point to pick up any glowstone I come across. It's not my favourite light source block, but it is a light source block found in the nether, so we will be using it in the build. The thing about warped trees, and I suppose crimson trees by extension, is they're kind of a pain to take down, but I've got a little bit of a method that I like to use now through, you know, my 6 minutes of experience. And that is to tower up on netherrack through the stem and then simply to use the hoe all the way down. Like so. It might not be the most efficient method, but it's good honest work, and you know, it pays the bills. I mean, I know there are people watching who are thinking, why don't you just make an automated farm for this stuff? But advanced viewer, something you haven't taken into consideration is my ineptitude to do that. So this is how we're going to continue. And yes, sometimes the method makes Enderman angry, but it's all part of the fun. We're still out here loving life. I've moved on from the warped forest. I'm now on the crimson forest. I'm trying to tackle the 2 forest biomes first because I feel like they are most annoying biomes to collect resources from, just because of how annoying the trees are to chop down. I mean, they're not as annoying as, say, mangrove trees, but they're up there. The most annoying resources now collected. We're at a soul sand biome, collecting the soul sand and soul soil. I'm also going to be picking up bone blocks. We do have bone blocks because of our mob farm and from previous trips into the nether. Somehow we're going to try and implement them into the build. I think if I was a better builder, I'd be able to. For someone of my low caliber, I think we're going to be having to do a lot of trial and error. Man, this is satisfying to break in. Ooh. So much easier to collect than crimson and warped wood. I think the only annoying thing about the biome, apart from the skeletons, which I'm managing to prevent with the use of torches, are the ghasts. They seem to pop up bar a few fireballs, you know, try and cement who's wearing the trousers around here, and then take an arrow to the face and die, and the whole process is repeated over again. They're probably getting angry I'm taking all the sand and soil. Well, tough. I tell you what, if I find any of their dried gas babies, I'll be taking them as well. Wow, who would have thought my makeshift footpath is working as a gas trap? Quick question, because I don't know the answer. Why are these flames here a different colour than these flames here? You see how these are more like turquoisey and these are more bright blue? And I don't know why. At first I thought maybe it's because I was in a different biome, but no, they're all in the So Sand Valley biome. It's not like they're different biomes, but these are quite distinctly bluer than these. I don't know why. Another fortress. Just what our world needs. Okay, the plot thickens slightly. I thought maybe it's because of a gassed fireball produces the bright blue one, and the flames that are already here, these flames here, the more turquoise flames, are flames that are already existing within the Soul Sand Valley biome, but no, we've got some that it's a mixture. See how we got bright blue and turquoise blue here? I've got to say, this is really cool to be able to do. Oh, that was anticlimactic. Hang on, I'm going to do that again. Then you never saw that. Oh, I can't even do it. He's hiding. Wow. I've got to say, this is really cool to do. Hey, okay, I missed. That's, yep, anticlimactic again. Here we go, here we go. First time. Alright, here I am at the Basalt Delta biome, or the Delta biome as some people call it, or the BD. You know, BD for Basalt Delta. I don't call it them, I just call it the Basalt Delta biome. And I'm picking up basalt and blackstone primarily. I'm also taking the initiative and filling up the lava pools because I know I'm going to fall in there. While I have a fire res potion, so it won't be the end of the world, just something I don't want to have to deal with. Beacons would speed up this process significantly. Here we are up at the dizzying heights of Y level 85, and I found a couple of pieces of ancient debris. Very unusual to find these up here at this height, but I'm not going to turn them down, and I just thought I'd show it on camera. Kind of a good thing I'm the only person within this world, because there would be laws put in against this sort of environment damage. I have taken out a lot of basalt and a lot of blackstone. I wasn't going to show it, but I just think it looks kind of cool. Also, something else I found over here was another piece of ancient debris, weirdly enough. So I'm going to take it on camera. Here we go. There we go. Oh, second one. Okay, I'm going to take another piece of ancient debris. Wee, an extra 2, so that puts us up to 4. Plus, if we go up here, bouncing around, try and make it quick. Here it is. Oh, it was this one because I had a torch on it and then I accidentally got rid of the torch. But yeah, there's another piece of ancient debris down here as well, so nice. There's enough. Okay, another piece of ancient debris under that one. Nice. After several hours, we're starting to build up a nice supply of materials we can use for the builds. However, currently my tools aren't fit for purpose. Most of them being at the point of breaking. So we all know what that means. I don't know if we've had some sort of workers' union or workers' rights scheme put in place, or if this is some not so subtle protest going on by the golems, but they're frozen again. Oh, I'll take that music disc. There's no way I'm going to allow them to not work. That's what they were designed to do, and that's what they're going to be doing. Even this guy trying to hide over here. Look at him, looking all cute. Get back to work, buddy. In fact, we're not buddies. Don't ever think that. I'm your employer, and you're my employee. Although while I'm up here, I also try and make it a point of combining the bows, seeing as we seem to get so many of the things. I'm also trying to make it a point, if I remember, to buy backup tools, another pickaxe and shovel, and then the books to go with them every episode. Again, contingent on if I remember. When I made these shulker boxes for pickaxes, shovels and axes, they weren't just for show, I want them completely full. Also contingent on whether or not I remembered was answering someone in the comments from last episode asking what the coordinates of the cave under the jungle biome were. And here they are. For anyone else wondering, I called it Spire Cave because there were lots of spires and I didn't know what else to call it. Maybe Sub-Jungle Cave, I don't know. But here they are. I'll also try and remember to put the world seed in the description. Again, contingent on whether or not I remember, and no promises are being made here. Also, quick side note, and the update has happened and we're now getting zombies with spears, and that was my own fault. I think Reaper could see me. Talking of the new update, it seems zombified piglins have got spears now. That's kind of cool. There's a reason I'm back in the Nether, and while I have gathered all the materials from the relevant biomes were going to be included in the build, I've got to say, because Nether fortresses are a structure that can appear in any of those biomes, I figured I might want to include nether brick within the build as well. And because I've come across so many of these fortresses, several to spare that I can just dismantle for the materials. And I've got to say, the luck continues. I've uncovered another piece of ancient debris that I'm going to take. Okay, I think it's time I put a stop to resource gathering. I mean, what do you guys think? We're at 4.5 large chests worth of nether brick now and some nether fences in here. I don't think we're going to need more than this, which I'll be honest is kind of weird for me to say because I don't even think we've touched a quarter of this fortress. It's huge. And there I'd been mentally prepping myself to dismantle the entire thing. And I'm not kidding. I think there's only so much time I can get away with procrastinating. I'm just hoping all of the materials I've got is enough. I'm pretty sure it will be. Also, on a side note, I have this large chest here where I have 19 dried ghast and a wither skeleton skull. A wither skeleton skull I did consider throwing away because I was like, I did it off camera. Does the part of me with integrity be like, you know what, guys? I didn't show this on camera. I'm going to throw it away, put myself at a slight disadvantage, just so I can get another 3 wither skeleton skulls on camera. And then I was like, nah, I'm not going to do I'm not going to do that. I got this wither skeleton skull fair and square, and I am keeping it. I'm not going to throw it away. I've still got another 2 more to get, and I'm sure we'll get them on camera, right? Suspicious. Then we have 7 ancient debris we picked up. We also got these 4 music discs. At first I was very confused about where I was getting them from because one of them just showed up in my inventory. I was like, wow, where the heck has that come from? But then I did a little bit of digging and I found that when you return a ghast's fireball back to the ghast and kill it, it will actually give you a music disc. Kind of cool. I don't know when this happened, but it's now a thing and I love it. Also, we picked up glowstone and shroom light for hopefully a light source block that is going to make sense within this build here, and some magma blocks, which I wasn't sure where to put within the 4 biomes storage because it appears in all 5 biomes, but the 4 biomes we're going to be focusing on. I think first things first, we're going to have to take out the nether wart farm. I'll be honest, it has been helpful for building up our supply of nether wart, and we are going to make a dedicated nether wart farm somewhere else, and I'm sure most of this will be put towards making red nether brick. First things first, we're going to take the flooring out. And then fill it in with a base block of choice specific to the biome quadrant of the room. Now the base block is going to become a customized flooring rather than a singular block because it looks a lot more interesting. However, I know myself and my capabilities to put enough custom flooring on the fly, and so for me I know it's a lot easier if I just put in one uniform block to begin with and then start taking out blocks to put in different blocks to create a bit more of a shade or gradient or something more interesting to look at. I know it takes more time and effort. I can't seem to do it very well on the fly, and it works for me, and I don't mind putting in the extra time and effort. That's the Soul Sand Valley section done. I'm trying to keep the basalt borders in place that separate the quadrants of the build. Once I've customized all the floorings, I'm going to probably take the basalt out and then merge both floorings. Try and make a seamless transition. You will have to be forgiven when it comes to seamless transitions. Next up is the warped forest, then the flooring of the crimson forest biome quadrant, and finally the basalt delta biome quadrant. Here's what it looks like with all the blocks in place, and I know what you're thinking, it looks quite a stark contrast, kind of garish in a way. I'm still a little unsure if it's going to work or not, but I've committed to it now, so if it doesn't work, it doesn't matter, it's going to stay. Now what we need to try and do is customize the flooring for each of these quadrants a little further than they already are, and I'm going to be doing that with the help of other blocks. So here's a look at the block palette for the basalt delta biome. We got the regular basalt. I've decided to use basalt twice because you can put it on the side and you get a different texture than when it's facing up. Same with the cut or chiseled basalt, I can't remember what it's called, but again we have it facing up and then we have it facing to the side because as you can see we have very different textures. Then we have regular blackstone, then like I think this is chiseled blackstone bricks, and then I don't know, I want to say smooth blackstone, maybe it's not, but it's a different variant. So we have different blackstone variants and the basalt. Here's going to be the gradient for the warped forest quadrant. Here's going to be the gradient for the Soul Sand Valley quadrant. I was a little bit worried about the bone blocks, how it's going to fit in, but actually looking at it all in a line like this, I think the bone is going to fit in. And here's a look at the crimson forest biome quadrant. Also, I'm going to be trying to squeeze in some light source blocks. So we're going to use shroom light for the crimson forest and warped forest biomes respectively, and then glowstone for the Soul Sand Valley biome and basalt delta biome respectively, rather than use torches, because as helpful as torches are, they don't look good. It does mean we're going to have to remove a lot of warped nylium again, so it almost makes putting all of these blocks in redundant, but like I said before, for me it works. Just putting in the shroom light blocks has made a big enough difference difference. It looks completely different than what it did before. Maybe not completely different, that might be an exaggeration. But it really changes the vibe of the place. And I suppose we don't have need for any of these torches now. Alright, here's a look at the finished flooring, and I'm unsure how I feel about it. It looks a lot more regulated than I thought it would look. Like, you can clearly see there's a pattern going on here rather than the organic build I was going for. But I am thinking, once we have chests in here and decoration, I don't think it's going to be as noticeable, and in fact will probably fit the theme rather well. So while it's out in the open like this, I think I could have done a better job. I think once everything's crammed in here, I think you're not really going to notice it. I'm not really going to notice it. And you know what? I'm not fixing it. I might try and switch it up a little bit. It might be the fact we've got too many streamlights. I'm going with the same sort of design for the rest of the quadrant, so I imagine they're all going to look kind of pattern based. But again, I think I'm just looking too short term. I think long term, once everything's built, I think it's going to look a lot better. So now I just need to do the rest of the floorings. Okay, and fast forward, and here's what the floor looks like now. And yes, it looks extremely noisy, visually noisy that is, of course. There's still a few torches I've got lying around I no longer need, but as you can see, the place looks a lot different. Crazy what a floor can do to a place. I think, if I'm going to be honest, I'm not sure if the bone blocks and the Soul Sand Valley biome quadrant really fit, but I'm going to continue to keep them for the time being. I think the other 3 quadrants fit the floor nicely. I think it's more visually noisy because we have the 4 distinct quadrants for the 4 distinct biomes. I'm thinking once I've got everything else in place, it's not going to look as visually overstimulating. Now, the original plan was to merge the borders of each quadrant. So the Soul Sand Valley, say, would be spilling out into the Crimson Forest biome, and the Crimson Forest would be slightly spilling out into the Soul Sand Valley, vice versa, vice versa. But now I'm wondering if it's going to be better just to put in some distinct borders with the nether brick, seeing as we haven't had a chance to use it yet. I mean, yeah, it's only 1 block thin, but I think it does do a good job at separating each of the quadrants. I'm also putting in an inner square of nether brick just to connect these border lines. Yeah, I'd say that fits the theme, and despite it only being 1 block wide, like the diagonal borders, they look a lot thicker than the diagonal borders. Another reason I might not be completely sold on the flooring at the moment is because of the walls. These are definitely letting the side down. So now what I've got to do is take out the wall and replace it with a wall more fitting for the space. You know, I was expecting this to be more inconvenient with the water spilling out, but seeing as we don't have torches, it's pretty easy to take care of the situation. There's the Warped Forest quadrant wall put in place, there's the Soul Sand Valley biome wall put in place, there's the Crimson Forest biome wall put in place, and here's the Basalt Delta biome wall. And now the place is starting to look a bit more put together, and I'm also starting to realise how huge of a space this is. Now what's clearly letting the place down is the ceiling. Now what I'd originally intended on doing was carving out the space above the ceiling and then taking out the ceiling blocks and replacing them with the block of choice. However, that's going to take a long time, and I thought of a better method. The solution comes in the form of these guys here. And now by placing it in water, I've made the advancements stay hydrated, and hopefully this will soon turn into a happy gas that I can use to facilitate the building. Work smarter, not harder, am I right? I think this is probably going to be the only time I ever take that piece of advice to heart. Okay, the first step of evolution has occurred, and okay, I thought he was just going to get stuck turning around. I'm spinning around of my way. Okay, I really want to hit the thing. I'm not gonna. I can't wait for you to grow up, buddy. We're gonna become really good friends. Don't do what the villagers do and ignore me. Oh, look, he's got little eyebrows as well. That's kind of cool. Alright, a bit more waiting involved, but he has grown up. Now all I have to do is put a saddle on him, and while I was waiting I did harvest the melons and pumpkins and then trade them to repair the tools I have. I didn't destroy any pumpkins and melons, so I'm surprised. Now I made sure to have the recipe ingredients inside of my inventory so we can just quickly craft up a harness. I opted for a black harness because I felt it suited the gas. Now where did that guy go? There it is. If my 100 days in 1 block taught me anything, it's not to chase after these guys. I'm saying as I chase after this guy. I'll just let him come to me. Boppity bop. And okay, he's gonna fly away. It's fine. Here, come back. They always do. Honestly, he's coming back. He's coming. I can tell. Any minute, he's gonna come over to me. I gave him life, and this is how he treats me, by making him run after him. Come back here. Don't make me trample my crops. You know what? I have an elytra. I don't need this sort of hassle. Okay, take the sword out of my hand. I don't need that. Damn it, I missed. Alright, here we go, buddy boy. Oh yeah, look at me go. He kind of looks like he's got a shell on his back rather than a saddle, doesn't he? But now with the help of this guy, we should be able to take out the ceiling really easily. Alright, a couple of minutes in, and kind of disappointingly, I've noticed that my pickaxe doesn't seem to work as quickly as when I'm not riding the gas. So if I was to press shift right now, look how quick my pickaxe works. Look at it, breaking blocks at the speed of light. I get back on this thing and... wow, that set me back a few ages. What are we, back in the copper age? I thought I got rid of that. Why can I not break blocks at the same speed as I can when I'm off the gas? Whatever, being able to ride this guy is still a net positive. And it doesn't affect block placing speed, which is what matters, because I'm sure this is what this is mainly for, placing blocks and building blocks. Probably not for excavation purposes. Although I've just noticed I was too busy talking to realise I've placed the nether wart block in the wrong place. Man, I need to get my hoe to do this. There's the ceiling of the Crimson Forest biome quadrant done. Here's the ceiling for the Soul Sand Valley biome completed. There's the ceiling of the Basalt Delta biome quadrant put into place. And that's the Warped Forest ceiling put into place. And for all intensive purposes, what does this now mean? Well, for starters, we can get the chests into place and turn this space into what it's intended to be used for, a storage room. And you can't have a storage room without chests. My grandfather taught me that one. The issue is maybe I've been underplaying how large this space is, because our entire shulker box of chests is officially empty, with the exception of the shulker shells. I mean, I suppose I should have got the hint when I'm standing on one end of the room and I look across and I can't see the chests on the other end of the wall. At least I feel completely validated in now grabbing all of the wood when we did. I knew there was going to be a point in time when it was going to come into play, and now is that time. But that's enough glazing of my past self. We've got all of the chests now in place, and I'm wondering if maybe we should get a few more in place. And despite having thousands of chests now in place, there is a lot of bare space in here. All of this area here could be utilised for storage, and I'm thinking I'm going to do that. I thought maybe about having just another inner wall of chests going around, but actually what I think I'm going to do is have almost like pockets or pillars of chests. It's going to be, let's just get a few of these in place. Let's say like that, like little clusters dotted around. So I'll have this one here, and then maybe, let's say, I'll just quickly get this one in place. Quick placing is not going well when I'm under pressure. I'm not under any pressure. And then maybe another one here, another one. And you see how I'm dotting them around? That's what I'm thinking. I just need to decide where exactly I'm going to place them. Alright, so I'm back and I've been giving it a little bit of consideration, and actually I think maybe a second wall is going to work better. So if I now take all of these chests out, I mean, at this point with this many chests, it's almost certainly going to be overkill, but I want it to be a storage room that lasts. And yeah, this will be a storage room that lasts. And here we are with all the chests put in place. Yes, it is complete overkill, as I was saying before, but we're not going to want for another nether storage place. Now, it is just going to be a manual storage system. I have no problem with a manual storage system. I know a lot of people like to do automated storage systems, but really, just having this in place is going to save a ton of time, or specifically with the nether blocks. But everything else we're just going to have to make do with the chests up here, which now this mess of a storage system up here looks kind of abysmal. It's almost a disappointingly small mess when you compare it to the scale of this place. Now, I'm not going to go as far as organise the biome-specific blocks into the corresponding biome sections of the storage room, and the reason for that is I think it's going to be mentally taxing, only a little bit, and I know myself well enough to understand that if even the slightest bit of resistance gets in my way, I will opt for the easiest option, which will be to dump the blocks wherever. The only chests that shouldn't be within this space are the middle chests that were originally put in to house the resources for each of the quadrants of the specific biomes. So over here you can see we've got the Warped Forest blocks for this section. Over there will be the Soul Sand Valley, the Crimson Forest and the Basalt Delta. So before I move on with decorating this place, I want to start organising these blocks into the new storage system. For anyone who watched those first few episodes, you'll remember the amount of cows we ended up killing. Well, I'm going to say those chickens have now come home to roost, or should I say calves. Rather than place an item frame on every chest like so, instead I'm going to assign 3 vertical columns to one item or block. So for instance, in the top left here we have some soul sand, or soul soil, sorry. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place an item frame in this center bit, put some soul soil on it, and then move across to here, where the next item or block will be. Not the most complex of designs, but it'll work for us. And it does work. And there's a lot of chests unassigned to any block, and it's likely it's going to stay that way for some time, which is fine because I don't know what updates to the Nether will be coming to us in the future, and I want the spare space available for us to grow into in case if any new block is added to the game and I need to add a new section to the storage room. My mindset is make it too big that we can expand into, then too small and need to expand the entire storage room. I mean, let's be real, it's unlikely we're going to be getting a Nether update anytime soon, but you never know. If anything, it's the end that's due an update before anything else, and honestly, like a day of reckoning, we all know it's coming. I mean, how long has this place remained unchanged for? 10 years? It's been a long time. The end is near. The end is here. Like literally, I'm in the end. And I think looking at the length of the episode so far, I think I'm going to call it a day here. I was planning to decorate this place, but like I said, we've been going at it long enough for this video, and if we keep continuing at this pace, this video might be about an hour long, which I know some of you won't mind, but I've got stuff to do. I can't live my life on Minecraft. Or can I? Anyway, thank you for watching. That's going to be it. Alright, bye.